Hey everyone, welcome to and bonjour and ça va. Welcome to Rob's Funk and Junk, episode 14. Let me just turn my mic up a little bit here. 1, 2, there you go. Massive apologies. Not that anyone's probably listening that regularly, but I wasn't able to do a podcast last week because the touring and the rehearsing was it was just a bit full on, and I had a few sessions come in as well that needed to be cleared and done before, and they needed I had a bit of a deadline on them. So hang on, am I turned up here? 1 second, sorry. There you go. 1, 2, that's better. I didn't get round to doing the podcast, and I felt terribly guilty, and huge apologies to anyone who was waiting for an episode. But then again, probably people aren't waiting for an episode. I realised my last podcast was perhaps a little weird because I was doing it really early in the morning from my hotel room. I am now currently in another hotel room in Paris, which is right opposite the Pantheon, which is, as I open my hotel blinds, that's what I'm faced with, and it's a magnificent building. I don't know what went on there. Sorry, I just blew some crud off my computer in front of me. Yeah, I don't know what went on there, but it's an absolutely breathtaking building. I don't know if anyone's ever seen it, but I'm sure some of you have out there. But I've just been out for a little walk with my colleague, my partner in crime. I'm away on this tour with Paul Turner on bass, the magical Paul Turner on bass. I am, during this period I'm away, I think I'm away for another month. I am going to try and get hold of another microphone and get him drunk, and then have a little chat. And that will hopefully, we've just not had a chance. We've been running around France, and in rehearsals and stuff like that. But I am going to cobble him, if I can pull him away from the World Cup, to see if it will be on my podcast and we can just hang out. And if there's anyone got any questions, if I do get Paul in, if anyone's got any questions that they would like to me to ask him on their behalf, I can do that. I'm sure I can do that. And then on drums, we have the marvellous, talented Jed Lynch, who I met a long time ago, probably 30 years ago, maybe 25 years ago. We played on an album together. We never actually played together until recently, but we played on a record together. Jed is the drummer. He was the drummer for a band called Black Grape, but also has been playing drums for Peter Gabriel for probably the last sort of 18 to 20 years. But I'm going, perhaps I can coerce him into being a guest on my podcast. But once again, apologies for not doing one last week. I've been on this tour. It's been a bit frantic. We've been rehearsing in a really lovely place in Paris. And it's been interesting. I'm with a lovely bunch of people. The artist Eric Levy is great, and we've been joined by 5 singers actually. One guy is a guy called Chanul, who's flown over from Australia. He's an opera singer, and he is incredible. But I think he's Indian born, but grew up in Australia, and he's an operatic singer, and he is absolutely incredible. And then we have a lady called Ekaterina, who is from Russia, but she lives in Canada currently, but she's amazing as well. And then we've got Alicia and Meek from Italy, and they do a couple of songs each on the gig. But it's a really interesting but strange gig to do. But we've been having some kind of traumas with monitor guys. It's been, if I'm honest, it's been a fucking nightmare. Just because we've been struggling to get, we had like 5-6 days rehearsals, and the monitor guy that we had in rehearsals, we found out wasn't going to be doing the tour. So we were getting all our sounds up, and when you're rehearsing like this, I kind of programmed up. I'm using my Quad Cortex on this, with no speakers on stage. For me, it's all on in-ears. I don't have any speakers on stage. You need to be on in-ears for this gig because there's a lot of counts and click tracks for every track has a click track. There's a lot of sort of stuff that is run from Pro Tools. Just extra percussion stuff and some orchestral strings and sort of choiry sort of things that are on track. But yeah, so we did the rehearsals with this guy, and he was all right. He was getting the sound together. He's using a desk, an SSL monitor desk, which I've not really seen anyone use one of these before. So he's using that, and then he informs, and I'm dialing the sounds in as I go for each track. I'm sort of programming sounds up on my Quad Cortex. I've got a basic set, but I'm sort of tweaking stuff all the time to get it how I like it with all the levels. So we do all the rehearsals, and then the eve of us going into production rehearsals, this guy leaves because he was always going to leave, and another guy comes in who says, and everyone said, oh, this guy's going to be much better. He knows what he's doing. And all of a sudden, all of our mixes changed in our ears. So we've been working towards getting our mixes ready for this tour. So all of our balances for every song are set. As soon as this other guy comes in, it all goes very, very wrong. It goes very Pete Tong. All the levels are completely different. The drums have dropped. The tracks are dropped. Every time the singer sings, there's no vocal in my ears, in any of our ears. All we hear is reverb. And because of the, I'm not a French-speaking person, it's quite hard to convey what you need. Both myself, the drummer, and Paul, none of us speak French, which I know is not great, but it's really hard to convey what you need while you're playing. Anyway, that guy ends up doing a day, and then he gets fired. So we're now in production rehearsals, which is on the stage where we're doing our first show with all the lights and the screens and everything, and the show is quite a tight run show. We have click tracks in our ears. When sections of songs change, we get a count on the track because there's lots of odd time signatures and odd bar counts. Lots of bars of 2, just randomly in the tracks, because it's kind of like a rock operatic gig. This is, and so we're flying blind without a monitor guy. The front of house guy, who's a great guy, he stepped up to try and fix our monitors for us for a day. So we're basically starting again, getting all of our mixes together for 26 songs. So it's not like you have a static. You should be able to have a static mix for every song, but it's been so we're starting again, which takes a day. So you're not rehearsing, you're getting mixes together. Anyway, we have this other guy come in. The third engineer comes in, and the first show is absolutely fine. It's how it was left. Everything is okay. And on stage, there's a string section, a percussionist, drummer, bass player, guitar player. Eric, who's the leader, he's also a guitar player. There's 5 singers and a choir that's on stage as well. So there's a lot of different mixes going on. So anyway, of course, what happens is everyone starts asking for what they want in their mixes on like after the second gig. So the first gig was fine. Second gig was kind of okay, not amazing. But the gig we did last night was absolutely terrifying because the guy had done something on the desk. I don't think he really knows how to use the desk. It's an SSL desk, as I said. For anyone out there who doesn't know, who's not, you have a monitor guy, a guy that does your in-ear mix. He's at the side of the stage, and then you have a front of house guy who mixes the sound that goes out to the audience. So the mix last night was atrocious. You couldn't. I mean, every band member was looking around in fear because the songs were started. Some of the counts weren't there at the start of the song. You couldn't hear any of the track. The vocals you couldn't hear. At one point, all I was playing to was a click track. No drums, no bass, nothing. So I never get angry on a gig because I love doing my job so much, but I was really, really stressed out last night. We all came off stage looking like we just landed a plane, being talked down by air traffic control. It was, and I equated it to like being at an ATM machine where you've forgotten your PIN number and you're on your last attempt, where your heart's racing. So every song, my heart was absolutely racing. Am I going to get what I need to hear in my ears? You can't take your in-ears out because you can't. There's no sound on, not a lot of sound on stage other than drums and the vocals at the front of the stage. Yeah, it was quite terrifying. Yeah, that's why it ain't what it used to be. It used to be, everyone used to be on wedges. I do think in-ears, while they are really good for saving your hearing over long-term use, they're a fucking pain in the ass. They seem to be something that's set up for, it's set up really to suit the monitor guy and the front of house guy than it is for us, But with so many tracks, so many gigs nowadays, everything's on a click track. Either because there's stuff running on track, or even with Jamiroquai, everything's always on a click track because Derek McKenzie likes to have a click, so he gets the tempos right every night, because sometimes your adrenaline can kick in and you play a song faster, or you may play something slower. And but it means that you rely on a really safe pair of hands when you have your monitors. So I know I've blathered on for 12 minutes about that, 13 minutes about that. But yeah, anyone out there may feel my pain because it is so important to have a good monitor engineer. It can ruin a show if it's not right. It's really hard to play. And you want it to sound good as well. It's not just feeding the sounds back. You need the drums to sound good and punchy in your ears. And to be honest, it does sound like all of the guys that we've used so far either don't know the desk or they don't know what they're doing. But anyway, rant over for a while. I'll let you know how the next one goes. We've got another gig tomorrow. Got a day off today. I'm now back in Paris, and just been out for a nice walk, just to decompress after a very, very busy last week. I've also been running around doing, not running around, but doing sessions while I'm in my hotel room and sourcing instruments and trying to get hold of a mandolin without, you can't rent one here. I need a mandolin for a session here, and you can't rent one anywhere. They want €1,000 just to let you leave the building with it. So I'm probably going to have to go and buy one, which is a pain in the ass because I've got one at home anyway. So yeah, that's what's been going on this week. I have been working on programming some sounds. I've been delving into the Quad Cortex a hell of a lot more, getting some good results out of that, which I have put up on the. I put one little patch that I did on the Cortex cloud. So if anyone's out there wants to go and have a look at that and download it, it's as I said, this gig is quite a rock gig. This gig is a rock gig. So most of the time I'm doing kind of either power chords, um, and I'm also doing sort of swelly, sort of Mike Landau-y style swells with loads of reverb and echo and stuff and chorus. But I've been programming up some patches for that, so I'll put them up on the Cortex Cloud. One of them in particular I'm really enjoying because it's um, I I worked out a way, which I know lots of people have done it, but I worked out a way to have two different amps. So I've got one Marshall on one side in my left ear and another Marshall in my right ear, but I put a little delay before the Marshall in the right hand side, just like a 10 millisecond or 11 millisecond delay. And because they're two different Marshalls, it's like you've got a double track, you know, it's like a double track, doubled sort of guitar sound in your ears, and it's glorious when the when the fucking monitor engineer can get it right. Sorry for swearing, excuse my French. Um, when the monitor engineer can get it right, it does sound like a double guitar part. You've got two different tones. I EQ them differently. Um, I use different speakers, and uh, and the little delay between the right and left side, it really helps to separate it. It's not like a slapback or anything. It's not long enough to be a slapback. It just means that it sounds like the parts aren't um, played exactly the same time, and it's really great. And then also I've sort of delved into the if anyone's got one out there and is using them for anything, uh, I set up a patch with one of my um, divided by 13 amps. I just put a little patch together using that, going into a little bit of EQ, and then a big old reverb. Oh, sorry, a big old delay, tape delay, big old reverb. But before all of that, I used there's a 2290 um, TC Electronics 2290 chorus setting. I think that's what it is. I think it's based on the Spatial Expander by TC Electronics, which is a really cool pedal. Gives you a real 80s chorus sound. So I've been using that and having a great time. I'm doing lots of sort of swells with my expression pedal, swelling chords in, and then a few solos through it. So I'm going for that real 80s Landau Lukather sound. So I'll pop them up on the old. Sorry, I'm getting a bit of plosives, pop. Sorry, you can hear the popping on my mic because I'm sat really close to it. I'll bung them up on the Cortex Cloud, and you can have a listen. What else is happening? Paul's in the other room, in his room, watching the World Cup, of which I could be less interested in. It's not my cup of tea at all. What else have we got? So I have had a couple of emails in, which I shall have a quick look at now. Is another one from my favourite, my good old mate, John Stathopoulos in Greece. Bless him. Hey, John, hope you're good. I think you sent me a message the other day on my Instagram account. I think you did. I hope everything runs well in your session in France. Thank you very much, John. I thought I'd drop you a line after playing with the Soldano SLO 100 Neural DSP plugin. This thing sounds amazing. Clean to crunch sounds are lively and inspiring. I have not gone to the higher gain sounds yet, although the real amp is supposed to be phenomenal at that. Just wanted to ask if you've ever had a chance to play with a real Soldano SLO 100. And what are your thoughts on the general comparison between amps and plugins? God, I can't read today. Do you find it realistic as a simulation, or is it only a matter of a good or bad sound? To be honest, I haven't tried a real Soldano. I wanted to. I was interested in buying one recently, but I think it would be something that I wouldn't use very much because it's I just took some advice from a friend, and he said, look, you're probably not going to get a lot of use out of it. It'll probably just sit there collecting dust. So I probably would try the plugin. I like using plugins. I like using amps. I like using modelers. I would always prefer to use a real amp, but these days it's needs must sometimes. I think you can get some great results out of the plugins. I've used plugins on records. did some sessions with one the other day. Sometimes it's just you need a certain sound and the plugin will do it. And I do find that the plugins will fit better with synthetic sounds on tracks. So if someone sends a synthetic sound, like not synthetic, but a synth sounding track, plugins tend to fit quite well in those, I think, in my opinion. So I use them. I've got the what have I got? I've got the Wong Archetype plugin, the Corey Wong Archetype, which I did a little demo for when it first came out, which I really liked, and I've used that quite a lot. I've got the Tone King one, which is also amazing, and I've used that. My problem is because I record with Luna, it's very difficult to get the latency-free plug. You can't use those plugins without a little bit of latency, which tends to piss me off a bit. I kind of like to track through it as if I'm doing it, so I've used it after the event. I've tracked with it with another plugin and then used the, I've used a universal audio one, and then I've tracked it, sort of bounced it down with the Tone King one on it as well. But I'm with using this stuff. The idea is to use for me is for the speed of getting a sound up. I don't like twisting, using the mouse and twisting knobs for hours. I want to get a sound up and press record as quick as possible. So yeah, they're brilliant though. They are brilliant, and they are getting better and better all the time. I believe John, fucking hell, what's going on with my brain today? I believe Joe Satriani used plugins on his new album. I think that's all Sansamp plugins on his new record. So, you know what? He kind of knows what he's doing. So, I don't think it matters. I think it matters what you're recording and what the material you're recording to is. But yeah, I'm definitely not adverse to using those. And it is always about getting a good sound. John then says, we missed the podcast this week. I hope we hear from you soon. You will shortly. I'll post this up as soon as I've finished it. But thanks, John, for your questions. It's great. It's really nice. Yeah, all good. What else have I got here? David Hamill has sent a email. Just listened to episode 4 of your podcast, and you've answered one of my questions on the quad regarding the use of the Laney cab versus an actual amp. As you have said, you do DI out of the desk when playing live. You must be getting annoyed with all the questions. Absolutely not. As many questions as you like about the quad from people. You know what? I don't mind at all. Send as many questions as you like. I'll answer them as and when I can. But I love talking about this stuff. So, any gear related stuff I'm interested in. So, what else has he said? You must be getting annoyed with all the questions about the quad from people, but it's just that it's so new, and for me it just seems like a better option than carrying around a heavy Vox AC30 to gigs. I would totally agree with you, especially as I'm an old man of 55. I know, well, I'm 51 and I'm definitely feeling it, even if the gigs are small, but there may be a flight case thrown in, a flight of stairs thrown in, sorry. Yeah, no, definitely. It's made things, I don't know. I don't know. It's just where it's at the moment. I think they're brilliant, these things. Another thing I want to say, actually, while I've been away on train journeys and hotel rooms, while I've been practicing, I've been checking out the YouTube channel of a guy called John Nathan Cordy, who is a fine player, really great, and he's he puts things across really well. I've really been enjoying his channel, so go and check him out. And yeah, he's awesome, and he talks about modelers a lot. He's got I think he's had experience with all of the main brands. He's had the Kemper. I think he uses mostly a Helix or the HX Stomp by Line 6, but he also has taken the time to go into the Fractal and the Quad Cortex. And I think, and he seems to know a hell of a lot about this stuff, much more than I do. So I've been watching with interest his videos. Um, yeah, very cool, and an amazing guitar player. I think very, very good. What else have you said here, David? I'm considering the quad, expensive that it is, and there will be no problem sneaking it through the house to the shed without the wife knowing. Be very careful. Be very careful. That's what I used to do. All my guitars used to be the same color, so that um, there was never any like, oh, have you got a new guitar? I'd never come home with a red guitar. Mine are always either sunburst, black, or white. Um, that's it. Uh, and then you've just given a recommendation. There's another one. Have any listeners a suggestion for a way to explain to your wife and partner why you need the new guitar, amp, and pedal? Uh, Listen, if it makes you happy, one thing I would say is a new guitar or amp isn't going to make you play better. It's definitely going to not going to make up for practice. Um, Absolutely not. Don't. I wouldn't ever go out and buy something thinking that it's going to improve things, unless, of course, you've got a really shitty guitar that's not easy to play. But tone-wise, the tone is in your fingers. It's there. It definitely is there. You just need to work on it to get it there. So most of the time when I'm practicing, I'm not plugged in. I sit there with my guitar. I should plug in, but I just don't. Um, So yeah, but if it makes you happy, go and get it. I think enjoy your life. Um, One bit of advice though is try and buy stuff that's not going to lose value. Try not to buy fad stuff. I know that the Quad Cortex is a fad thing. I know that in 3 years' time something new is going to come out, and they're like your mobile phone fad things. It's all they're the disposable things. Um, but if you buy a decent guitar of a decent brand, um, they're gonna you're gonna be able to sell them on. I bought so many things in the past. I'm only saying this from experience as well. I bought so many things in the past where I bought it, and then 5 years later, it's not worth anything because the fad has died down. I've done it. I've been there, bought the T-shirt, tried to sell the T-shirt, and couldn't get any money for it. Um, Next question is from Michael Miss Campbell. Miss Campbell. And it's titled New Toys PRS SE Hollow Body Piezo. Hey Rob, you mentioned writing in about new gear and wanted to say how much fun the new PRS SE Hollow Body 2 Piezo is. Such a mouthful. Yeah, it is. That is actually. So much range in this guitar. I'm digging the warm jazz tones, but the crispy bright blends of the acoustic pickup. The blend could still be a bit more gradual, as after about 3 or 4, you're all there, but overall a guitar for solid flexibility. He says, I saw your video a few months ago and that sealed it for me to get one. Oh, well, that's great. I'm glad. Cheers, Mike. P.S. Tell JK he needs more vitamin D and Australia would be a perfect tour. Oh, man. I'd love to get back and play in Australia at some point. That would be very nice. I did a video for them. Yes, you're right. I did, and yeah, they're great. They're making some great guitars. PRS. Um, yeah, I liked it when I played it. I have thought about getting a hollow-bodied one, but actually, I must say, the other day I went to Gibson here in went to the Gibson showroom here in Paris, and I did try. I think it's the new American made Epiphone Casino with the P90s in it. I posted up a picture of it on my Instagram. Oh man, that was a nice guitar. Very nice. I got slightly sweaty under the collar. Um, but yeah, I'm not about to be taking a new guitar home from tour. Maybe it's one of those things that I'll think about for a while, and yeah, maybe pull the trigger on it at some point. I'll see. Um, last question here. Oh, it's not a question. It's just a guy called Josh Woodley. I think you just sent some podcast uh, recommendations. So what have you said? Following my question about Nile, I meant to also list a bunch of great podcasts I'm a regular listener of. These are the musical ones anyway. Here they are. Tape Notes. Yeah, I recently listened to that actually. Tape Notes is it's very good. I really enjoyed the 1975 episode that my son and daughter tipped me off about because they're massive fans of that band. And as am I, actually. They're a really good band. And I love anything where they're breaking down tracks and opening up the stems. So yeah, definitely. If anyone out there likes that kind of stuff, people dissecting their songs using the actual sessions, that's a good one to check out. Tape Notes. Who's that? The Third Story with Leo Sidran. I've never heard of that one. Interview series with a great host and fantastic musical guests. Corey Wong and the Wong Notes. The Wong Notes thing. Yep. I was actually a guest on that in his first series. Corey's great. I love him. He's a good man. The Broken Record with Rick Rubin. I've checked that one out as well. That's good. Eric Krasno +1. Eric is a killer guitarist, and this is him talking to his friends. I shall check that out. Comes a Time interview. There's a podcast called Comes a Time, interviews hosted by bass player Oteil Burbridge, similar to Krasno's podcast. Okay. And then there's the Rick Beato one. Everyone knows Rick Beato. Fascinating. Yeah, I can watch some of the things get me. I watch them, but some of the old the clickbait titles just annoy me sometimes. But then it's probably because I'm a grumpy old git. Yeah. So yeah, well, thank you for sending in all these questions. I have prattled on for how long am I prattled on for? Where are we? 32 minutes 20. So yeah, I've got a day off today. I'm off to hang on, where am I going tomorrow? I can tell you. Let me open my calendar. Busy week actually. So tomorrow I am in Cornwall, Auvergne. Never been there before. But yeah, I'm off there tomorrow. Then on Wednesday, so today's Monday, gig tomorrow on Tuesday. Wednesday, I'm flying back. Paul and I fly back. We've got a rehearsal in the UK. Then on Thursday morning, we come back to France, and we are in Dijon. And then Friday, we are in Orleans. And then on Saturday, we are in Reims. And then Sunday, we have a travel day. So yeah, it's busy. It's great. Really nice to be busy and out here playing. Anyone who's got a question or anything they want to talk about, drop me a line at robsfunkandjunk@gmail.com. And please, if you're listening, don't forget to give me a little review on the old Apple podcast thing. That helps with the ratings. Once again, I apologize for missing last week. I was just knackered. But once again, thank you for listening, and I hope you have a lovely week. Hope if you're watching the World Cup out there, I hope you're enjoying the World Cup, and I hope it gives you everything you want in your life. So yeah, have a great time, and I'll see you on the next podcast, hopefully next week. Take care. Bye.